So hello guys, in this video we are going to learn how to create orb, and in this video I'm only going to show this one. In future video we will see all the other ones. So let me show you a close up. So in this video we will create this dark energy type of orb. You could see in future we will create this water orb, this energy, I don't know what to call this, but like a plasma related stuff. Then we'll create like a fireball in future, or like this sun related, lava related, and then we'll create a mud ball in future, and this is just an extra. If I play, I will show you that I also have this one. So this is how it looks in my hand. This is going to be the future. So again, subscribe so that you know when I release these videos. And you could see it looks pretty cool, right? So in this video we will be creating just this effect. Also, I will be linking my website in which you could basically just find stuff like that I made quickly. For example, all of this orb related videos I will be creating like a page in here. So just go to resources. It's going to be free. It is using like an e-commerce template, which is why there's like price and all that stuff. So again, I haven't really added the page around here, but it would look something like this. So it would have all this stuff, but as you scroll down you would have, you know, the first orb, then second orb, then third orb, like this, with all the textures that I use. So you could just click on the texture, click here and click download. That way you can get the exact texture that I'm using. And in future when I create more videos related to orbs, I will basically just add it in here, so you could just keep scrolling until you find something that you like. That way it's like easier to find this. And again, in future I will also be creating a free download on my Patreon. So all these 5 files would be available to download on my Patreon. So once it's done, I will add the link in here. I'll also let you guys know in the description that I've created that. And also if you want to check more texture, you could go to resources, textures. These are on this page. On this texture I only create, or I only show the texture that I have made. So these are all made by me, all CC0. If they were paid, I would have added on the resources section in a paid section. So something like paid, and then you go there and buy it. But for now, everything that is added in texture is free and CC0. So you could just go in here, and if you want, you could link my website or my channel or whatever. So let's quickly make this effect. Okay. First thing you will need is a sphere, which you could basically just go in here, go to modeling tools, and create around here. But I have created one in Blender and imported it. It's just a UV sphere, basic one. Once it's done, you could basically just drag it in here like this. For time being, let's go to the low option. So first of all, we'll start with material. So I'll call it MTUT orb1. So basically tutorial orb1, and add it to this. Actually create material instance MI and add it around here. Usually you should be using material instances, so that if you want to create, you know, same effect, like this same effect with multiple circle, but just want to change the colors, then instances do a really good stuff and you don't have to compile it every single time. So in this one, in the material we have nothing, and this is just the material duplicate that I've kept around here so that I can reference it to what I've done before. So this is what we'll start with. So first of all, we don't want any specular and we want fully roughness. So 0, 1. Again, this all comes down to your preference. I like to use unlit, so basically other effect like global illumination and all would not affect it. Other lighting would not affect it. That way we only get this emissive option. Just really comes down to preference. Again, for this one I really haven't used that thing, but let's just play around with it. Okay, we will change back to default one if needed, if the effect looks good there or not. So first thing, we'll need a Fresnel, and Fresnel basically checks this surrounding lightning. So basically it checks, I think, from your camera vector, like which is like the perpendicular one. So this creates like a fake, what you call, like this rim lightning. So you could see. So what we'll do is we will basically just add a power node. Let's see if that reduces it. Yep, it does reduce it. We can turn this to 1 and then basically play around with this value if you want. You could even play around with it. So if you want thinner or bigger, whatever you want. Okay, so let's just do 2 for now. We will play around with it later. And if you look in here, there is a small glow in the center. Now you could do this with like different methods, but for me I'm using material related, so I'll just do this stuff again, which is I'll get the Fresnel like this. Also get the exponential and do 1 minus. It doesn't work, so let's just do around here. So 1 minus basically turns it to be opposite. So anything that is white is 1, anything that is black is 0, anything that is between is like different colors. So for example, if I add a color ramp, which is a new thing in Unreal Engine, this is 1, so it should be opposite like this. So whatever is black is 0, whatever is white is 1, and anything in between is like 0 0.1, 0.2, 0.5 and all that stuff. If you want to learn more about it, I have a video called Shader Fundamentals and Techniques, which you could basically go and you will find all the information about like 0, 1, how to do math and stuff, basic stuff. If you add this, it basically does 1 minus whatever color is there. So 1 minus 1, this would turn to 0. 1 minus 0 would basically give same stuff. So this is how it looks. It is, let me add my background. You could see there's a black outline around here, and we can intensify this effect by adding power. So if I do this, maybe turn this to 5, 1. Yeah, this looks good. Let's do 20 until we get like something nice in center. So I have used around here 20. Okay. So based on how much glow you want in here. And then this is again outer effect with everything middle black. So this could be 0, but it's very hard to know. Sometimes you cannot tell from your like just your eyes, but this technically should be 0, I believe. So once you add everything, it's 0 or very low value. Okay, that's why it's black. And once you add both of this, it gets added like this. So we get a center glow and we get this stuff like this. Let's start with texture. So if I hold T and add texture sample, I use lots of like shortcuts like holding M, holding A and stuff like this. Holding A and doing left click, stuff like this. So in case I do something like this, you just need to check the name of the node and basically search for it if you do not know the shortcut. So I have created some noises. So let me just go around here. So I created some noises like noise 1, 2, 3, 4. Like this, I will basically use the noise 2. That's what I used previously. I just tried with different ones. Okay, you just have to test with like multiple stuff and find what works properly for you. Sometimes the parameters that you use are dependent on the texture that you use. So this is our material, and again you could see that this is like a black and white, right? So you could just use any channel, because black and white texture is nothing but 0 to 1 value. So 0, 1, like 0.1, point something like this. Again, watch that big video and you will understand it better, the VFX video. Now here's the thing, if I want, I can make this go like hold P and that would basically create banner. Hold P and left click. We can basically move it like this and then maybe add another one, and this one we will move it, I guess, negative 0.5 and maybe like 0.1 like this, so it goes like this. So if I multiply both of this and add it, we get this type of effect. Now multiplying, what basically multiplied does is that it masks it. So if I was using, let's say, a radial gradient exponent, which is just a mask like this, you could see it's just a mask. This is 0 value, this is 1. So this one would be like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and it will slowly go to 1 in the center. So what would happen if we multiply a texture with 0 value? 0 is black, right? So anything multiplied by 0 will give us 0. So for example, if I attach it directly like this, anything multiplied by 0 would give us 0 because 0 is black. If you multiply it with 0.1, it's like intensity is lower because 0.1 multiplied by 1, which is like the highest value, would give you 0.1. white color is 1. Okay, so highest is 1. So when you multiply two stuff like this, you basically get a mask. You could see there's a mask around here because wherever there's 0, it multiplied with 0. Wherever there is 1, it multiplied with 1, and there is actually fading happening because it's multiplied by 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 as you go in center. So once you multiply both of them, it creates like mask of two of them like this. So two of them go like this. But what we actually want is, for cooler effect, this is optional. So if you want, you could just keep two of them. But what I like to do is I want to use four-way effect. So right now you could see nothing's showing, but if I go to a higher quality, you can see that there is like randomness in the pattern, or not randomness, but it doesn't look like this. So for that, what you need to do is you need to go to your content. I don't know where it is. It's in the engine. I believe it's in the engine, and search for four-way. So this one, motion four-way chaos. We are not using normal, so we don't need this. So let's copy this material function, and basically until we reach our destination, which is this folder, I'll duplicate it. The reason why I duplicate is because that's the engine folder, right? So we don't want to touch it. So let's just duplicate it, and I'll call it TUT. And this you could see is called material function. So if I double click on it, you would see that it's nothing but just material. But what material function is something that you want to reuse again and again. So for example, if you want to add two texture always, then you could create a material function so that you do not have to, manually go and create, two textures, then do add every single time. You could just create a material function and then basically just reuse it again and again. And that is basically what this is. And you could even see what this is doing. I don't know if it's visible. Again, you could check how to create material functions. It's like very easy. But you could see that this one is basically moving top left, this one is moving top right, this is moving top right, this one is like bottom right, top right, and then bottom left. So four-way, so all four ways it is moving, and then basically just adding to each other. So all of them are like stacked on top of each other. And this input dividers and all this stuff is nothing but an option, the ability. So if I'd like to add this in my tutorial stuff, this one, okay, so it basically creates this inputs. And one more thing is, if you check this quality switch, they have set it to be 0 for the low, and even for this one, so low. So for this 2 1, they have basically set it to be 0. And what this basically means is that if we go to low option, you could see around here, if you go to the low option, it only shows one of it, which is basically this one is removed. These two are removed because add and then they are removed together. So it's this one. So only this effect is shown around here when you are in low. So if you don't want to do that, if you want to show this effect even for the lower end PC, just go to your duplicated four-way one and basically remove this quality control, or basically just remove this completely, and it will still be showing, okay, for low end PCs. So let me remove everything, and then we have our texture. But you would see that if I try to add it, it does not work because it requires T2D. That's all you need to do, is go to your convert to texture object, and then you could just convert to a parameter, not this one, convert to parameter like this, like texture, and then we can add like T2D so that we know that it's T2D method, and then add it around here. Nothing showing, but if I add to the emissive, I'm not in higher quality, so around here. So right now we got our texture moving. Do I have to be even higher? Yeah, so based on the quality, it will basically be different. This could be a good optimization method too. So just try with whichever works, but basic one works for me nicely. And we just got our texture moving in all four directions. Again, if you want to tile and all, then you just need to use texture coordinate, which is like pressing U and doing left click. And then basically if you want to tile, scale it up and all that stuff. Okay, so I'm not going to go in here. And there's also speed. So which you basically can do like 3 speed, 5 speed and all that stuff. Again, if you do not know how to create scalar, this float 1, press 1 to left click, 2 for 2, 3 for our 3 vector, which is also the color, and 4 is also our color, but it also has like 4 values and alpha channel like this. And if you want to convert this to a parameter, you could right click or just press S and it will create like one scalar parameter, float 1 related. So next thing I want to do is I want to use a texture, and I'm just going to use a basic noise texture that I have, which is 1. And if I show you texture, it's just basic made in Photoshop. If you click like render clouds in Photoshop, it basically creates this one. I didn't change anything. So if I connect it, you could see this is how it looks. There's like a lot more whites and blacks, but it's not too harsh. I can even show you my other noise textures. You can download it from my website, obviously. So 4 is like much more harsher. 3 is like way too like, that's like black completely. There's no gradient and all. So again, play around with it. But here we'll use lerp. So lerp basically is very simple. So let me just do it without connecting it. I'll add 3 constant vector like this and add 2 colors. So one is blue and one is this orange color. If I add it to the B and A, this is what we get. But if I do 0, it basically shows whatever is in the A. If I do 1, it basically shows whatever is in the B channel. If I do 0.5, then it's like a half of this, half of that. Now if we add this texture, which like I said, is simply just 0 to 1 values. So again, there is like a lot more wider area, so it would have like higher values like 0.5 and more. There is like not much black values in here. So if you add in here in the R channel, this is what you get. Sometimes the colors that you use might not be visible. So for example, if I add something like this, it is not visible. It really depends on what you're using. Sometimes let me just remove the background. So based on the color or the texture, sometimes you would not see the difference. And quick way to see the difference is by reducing this stuff, which is reducing what do you call this, like the value, and you can see the difference because there is like a nice contrast now. But again, sometimes you might need to just add some power in here so that you could add some more control if you want. This is optional. So like 5, and then it will just increase the black video and add some like intensify the effect. But this really comes down to the texture. For me, it just works properly with this one. And if you want, you could even pan this texture like this. So if you want, we can do pan 0.1, maybe not this way, like 0.1 like this. Really comes down to your preference. And now we have this texture which is moving in 4-way direction, and then this texture which is just a basic different one. If I multiply this like this, remember that wherever there is black, I think it crashed. From like Unreal Engine 5.7.3 or 4, it's kind of crashing a lot for me. Okay, so let's just open everything that was open. So again, what we are basically doing is we are multiplying this two stuff. And what this basically did is very simple, just like I showed about the mask. You know, the black color and all, wherever there is 1, it is multiplying by 1. Wherever there is like 0, it is multiplying by 0, 0.5 and all that stuff. And it basically, if it's multiplied by 0.5, it's basically reducing the effect by half, like the intensity by half. So that's all it's been doing based on this texture. And you could say this is how it's looking right now. Now let's get our Fresnel. If you don't want to create spaghetti, you can obviously just go in here and create like a name root and call this like edges, something like this. And this would basically act as a, what do you call it, portal or variable like this. So wherever, instead of creating this from here Oops, from here you could just use like this multiple times wherever you want to use it. Now instead of multiply around here, because if you check this edges, this is like black in the here, black around here, white in here. So what would happen if I multiply this? Let's just show you guys. There is like the effect around here, but we can also create a multiply at the end, basically like a final intensity. And you would say if you want this type of effect, again go for it, but I don't want this type of effect. So where there is like completely black in center, what I actually want is I want to add it. And when you add it, we are basically just adding this effect on top. It would not look good because right now we are just adding the white color, like this white color on it, because this is white color. So first of all, we need to multiply this with our lerp before adding. So let's remove this. Let's multiply with our lerp. So this stuff, so this color, and after this we can just multiply this around here. You could even multiply around here. It just comes down to your preference. Just play around with it. I don't like how dark it is. So what we can do is this around here? So this is the center, right? So we can multiply this and then do some intensity like this. Okay, so maybe 15. Okay, and now if I add it around here, it's still not visible that much. Okay, it is now visible. Okay, it is visible. I think it just depends on which texture it is moving on top of it. I think that's the issue. Maybe we don't pan this one because we already have like so much panning happening around here. Now one thing is we are getting like these edges and all this stuff around here. I still want some more effect around here. So for the edges, is this one the edge? Yeah, we can actually multiply this so that it is intensified. Just know that when we are multiplying by 20, we are going above one value, and you can see it is looking nicer. And then we can basically add this on top of this stuff. So this effect and then this effect we basically are adding on top of each other. Let's delete everything like this. Now for all of this to work nicely, you have to play around with, you know, this effect, like how you want this to work and how you want it to look. Play around with the power and stuff, and for that you could obviously create parameters because we have used, you know, material instance. So for now, let's just keep it like this. And if I connect this to emissive, this is how it looks. Okay, it looks a bit different, but that is just using the right colors and playing around with the Fresnel and stuff, like making the edges sharper or not. And we can also add like a final intensity. So again, you could just promote this to parameter and call it like final intensity, like this. Like promote any value that you want to have more control on. So like Fresnel power, like this. Let's add this and call this Fresnel intensity. This one would be called like center dot power, and like, or center glow would be better. So center glow intensity, like this. Now once you have done everything like this, I forgot how much I had used around here. So let's just, this is 20 and this is 50. There we go. This multiply should be 20. I forgot what the values I had used around here. This one again, you could see that final intensity is 0. Anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So everything's showing wrong. So if you do 1, like 21 times 1 is 21, 30 times 1 is 30, and that stuff. So 1 is basically no effect. like around here. Now because we are using material instance like mi, and just double click on it, go to like all this stuff and just play around with it until we like it. So again, if I want more glow in the center glow intensity, so if I want it to be, much more stronger, final intensity is like the end intensity, so I'll just keep default for now. This one you could basically control maybe if it explodes or stuff. We got Fresnel intensity, so how big you want. Even with the power you could just make it sharper and all. So I'm just going to keep everything default, and again you just need to now duplicate it. Like again, I one more thing I forgot is we should also turn this into parameters. So convert to parameters, color 1, color 2, even like this thing, like convert this to a texture parameter, so that you could have like more control on like mi, what you call this, like material instance. Let's try with different colors how this will look. So if I do red and do the second color as, I don't know, like blood orange, we can quickly change the effect that it looks. You could see suddenly it's like a red orb. I'm just gonna use the default. And the next part is simply creating these particles, which is like very basic. So I'm just quickly going to create. Just go to Niagara system, empty Niagara system, ns underscore tut orb underscore 1. Just double click on it, and in here we'll add an emitter, minimal emitter, call this as orb mesh. It should only spawn one stuff, so in the emitter update we'll say that spawn burst instantaneous, only one, so it's spawning only one. And we do not want sprite, we want a mesh renderer, so let's add mesh renderer. Which mesh do you want? We want this mesh, so sm sphere. We can go to enable material overrides to plus, and basically choose our orb 1 material, like whichever we want. I'll use the instantaneous one. And now if I add this Niagara system in here, you could say it does not follow, but that is because we need to go in here and say that be local space. We can also turn this to GPU and fixed because we are not doing any collision and stuff, so it's faster to do this way. Right now what's happening is, how long is this one? So it's 5 seconds, so every 5 seconds this is refreshing, and this one is set to be also lifetime be 5. So if I, let's say, turn this to 2, it will basically just disappear, and then after 5 seconds it will respawn because this is basically respawning it. We don't want that. What we want is, I want this one to only play once, so let's do self and say that only play once, so do not loop. And in your particle state I'll basically say that do not despawn. So it basically says that kill particles when lifetime. So when lifetime is reached, it basically deletes it. We don't want that. And this one would basically last, it will only play once, so you could see it only play once, but it will last until you delete it manually. We will add another emitter. You can just click minimal emitter for quicker way, call this as embers, and this time we will use spawn rate. I'll isolate this so that I can see it. I'll do like, I don't know, 50. All of them are spawning on each other. So on the particle spawn, we would add velocity and do fix issue. And one issue that I found in 5.7 is when I click fix issue, it should actually add one more stuff, but it only adds one stuff. So you could say it actually requires both of this stuff. But if I do fix issue, it basically disappears. And that is because in the particle update, as velocity needs to be updated every single frame, right? Which is why particle update, not only on spawn, on update, it needs to have solve, forces and velocity. Now it should fix but when you do fix issue, it should have added it automatically, but it's not adding, so manually I've added it. So apply initial force and solve forces. You could see it's on particle update, so it needs to update it every single frame. Initial particle size is basically how long you want it to exist, so let's just do 1 second for now. We go to sprite size, you say random non-uniform, so we can say that be between like 5 to 10, so or maybe 2 to 5, like this. In the velocity, I don't want it to go linear like top, I want it to be from point. So from the center, basically go everywhere like this. And if you want, you could go in particle spawn and choose shape location. And shape location basically means that maybe let's remove the velocity first. It's basically spawning in this sphere. There are multiple options, but because we also have orb in sphere, we can just use this. And if you select this and make it full, it will basically just spawn on the circle's edges or on the surface. If I like increase it like very high, you would see that it's not in the center, it's only at the edges. That way we do not worry about like it spawning inside. We could add velocity again, so it gets pushed outside. Let's add our mesh. Sorry, this one, like this. So right now the size is not perfect, so let's go to our shape location. Where did I add it? In the initial particle, we can choose a color for our sprite, so I'll do random range. I'll use if you increase this value, it would be a bit more harsher, or not harsher, sorry, glowy, because it uses emissive materials, so like this. And then the size should be even smaller, so like 1 2 3. The velocity should be high, 500, nope, 200. As we increase the velocity, they're also going like much more faster in 1 second time. So if you reduce to let's say 0.2, this is how it would look, just closer in here. Maybe not this much velocity, like 100. And then this one we can basically do random too, so that like not like every one of them would have like random, and it would not look like a perfect sphere. So we could do like 0.2 to 0.5 there, like this. And again, to add more variation, you could add curl noise force in particle update, like 100. I think it's not even going to be much visible unless we reduce the speed of this stuff. But yeah, that's all you have to do to make this dark orb. Nothing's different. You could see it's just coming down and playing around with the settings. Everything is same, just like smaller size of sprites around here. Like make this smaller or bigger, choose the color and all that stuff. So yeah, everything is same. All the textures would be in description on my website. Everything else just works perfectly. You could even see when I move this like this, it basically creates these particles wherever it is. So yeah, thanks for watching, and for the future videos, consider liking and subscribing, and also checking the website when I add more stuff like this. And all these files would be available on my Patreon for free. Thank you.